Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron, a member of the Gospel City launch team. Really excited for what's to come once we get out of this COVID season. But also in this season, it's been cool to be part of the team. But I have a wife of almost 6 years. Her name's Katie, and we have a 1-year-old daughter.
Awesome. Well, I know your story a little bit. I know that just kind of what you've walked through, and this idea of this Jesus plus something gospel has been something that's appealed to you
Yeah.
over the years. And so, why don't you just share a little bit what that was like believing that? How did that kind of play itself out in your life?
I remember feeling like it was up to me to clean myself up. Like literally, like my prayers would be heard better if I was, good that day or that week. Literally, like God was more proud of me when I was doing good, and then when I failed, He was just so disappointed, couldn't believe it. And I, in my mind, like created this distance between me and God when I failed. It just left me with this weight on my shoulders. Like I have to constantly prove myself that I'm worthy, right? Um, of God's love, and I can prove it to you, God. And it really just I remember feeling like weight on my shoulders. And I lived most of my life like that, and it was miserable.
Mm. What do you feel like is so exhausting and miserable about living like that, believing that?
You start, and I remember feeling this way too, like it starts feeling like, what's the point? Why should I even try? Why should I even try to be good if I know I'm going to mess up, you know? Um, but then of course you feel like that, well, I have to earn my way, to God. And so it's just this constant exhausting cycle of doing good for a bit and failing. And when you feel hard, and it feels like it takes away everything, you try to build up.
What were maybe some of the things specifically that were like, oh, when I do these things, like God for sure loves me more.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this. So things that probably people can relate to, like going to church and serving. The college I went to was a Christian college, and I led mission trips. I led one. I went on one. So it's like this serving that you just feel really good about yourself. I attended chapels. I went to church. Kind of check those things off. Like, oh, good, I did my part this week. I remember in high school and college, like grades, like getting good grades made me feel like I was a better person. Honestly, scoring goals in soccer, like those days, for some reason, it made me feel good. I'm just like, yeah, God, I bet you're so proud of me. Like I scored a goal at a soccer game today, and yeah, stupid things like that. Um, yeah, it just the scope was like just anything that Aaron felt good about, like it boosted my own confidence, made me it translated in my head as like, oh, God's also proud of me. And
Mm.
it honestly doesn't take a lot for me to feel proud of myself. So
Oh, it's funny. How about like, on the flip side, like even, maybe this is kind of dipping into some pain and some darkness, but just on the flip side, what were some of those things where it was like, oh man, I did this, and so the Lord loves me less. I'm not able to be in relationship with him right now because of this. I got to clean this up.
girls, man, just failing with girls, both, you know, sexually and maybe a little manipulative, and I knew it, and um, so that made me feel really bad about myself. And again, made me feel like God is also really, really disappointed in me. Sports was a big part of my life. Girls, part of my life. Popularity in college, all those things kind of got stripped away from me. So yeah, I stopped going to church in college for a while because I was tired and made excuses in my head. Um, and that made me feel really distant from God. Like I didn't go to church for a couple months, and it just made me feel like I was just this horrible person, failing, and in every aspect. So it's really, I guess, the flip side of what made me feel good. But um, yeah,
Yeah, it almost sounds like it wasn't just Jesus plus like morality, like Jesus plus being good. It was also Jesus plus just being successful. Like you had to
yeah,
be successful.
Yeah,
that feels exhausting.
dude, that's for sure.
So what was like the turning point for you to go from believing this to then believing the actual gospel?
There was one point in college where um, I had like a big breakdown moment. So, like I said, I wasn't starting on the soccer team, so like that piece of my identity that I built was just gone. Um, my grades were failing. The girl I was pursuing just totally, like ended it. So that part of my identity was gone as well. And then because I was like putting so much time into sports, I really didn't have the same popularity that I had in high school. And so even that part of my identity was gone. I'm really thankful I had like close friends, but um, the perception of who I am, that was taken away from me. And I remember God kind of saying, Aaron, what are you standing on? Are you satisfied? And it was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, my entire life I've been building these pillars of my own, you know, on my own strength to feel my own security, and those are gone. And it was like proof that it wasn't enough. But really, the moment that I feel like the gospel clicked for me happened after college. I was having a discussion with some friends about just the idea of the cross and how Jesus saw every failure of mine, every sin, things I would be horrified for people to know. He saw those things and still said, "Aaron, I'm going to die for you on the cross." And I just remember this light bulb of like, oh my gosh, everything that I'm trying to recover on my own strength, to prove to God like, hey, I'm doing these good things that outweighs the bad. I don't need to do that because all of the bad is taken care of in Jesus. It's gone. He paid for it. He wiped it clean, and he gave me his righteousness. The one I was trying to attain, and in my own mind, success, I couldn't get there. He gave me everything that he needs to see me as
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And I remember like this physical weight falling off my back, and I felt like I could breathe. And it was just like, I will never forget that moment. I treasure that moment of just, oh my gosh, all I have to do is look to Jesus, and it's done. It's finished. It's been taken care of. That was the turning point where I'm not perfect. I still struggle, but the times that I get to gently be reminded by my wife or my friends to look to Jesus, I get to like re-experience that peace, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm satisfied in Him. There's this peace that like I don't have to be exerting all this energy. It's been done for me, and I get to just rest and be with Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you didn't experience that beforehand?
Oh yeah, I think the picture was he was always a little out of reach, and I wasn't doing enough to be there with him. So I never got to enjoy being with Jesus. It was always, no, let me show you. I can get there. I can get to you. Trying to almost like in my head, trying to convince him, no, come to me, be with me because I'm good. And finally, this realization of like, oh my gosh, he's been with me the entire time, pursuing me. Now I get to just enjoy that. He is the prize, right? It's a whole new perspective on life, and it's wonderful.
So good. That is really the gift of the gospel, that we get to be with Jesus, that we get to enjoy his presence and not see him as some tyrant demanding us to complete a list of tasks, but as a father, as a friend that is with us and cares for us and loves us. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that.
Of course.